little bit more about the online business manager role that you have. So what is that, first of all? And how do you implement yourself into somebody else's business?
Okay, so an online business manager, if you think about an organizational chart, the owner or the COO is at the top. And then usually there's like all these other spots. When you're a solopreneur, you're in every seat. You might have, a VA over here, social media manager over here, a copywriter over there. But then as the owner, you're having to deliver on those goods or services and then still manage the team and all the processes.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas an OBM comes in, so it's like the owner's here and then the OBM comes right here underneath you, and then they can manage all of those other pieces. And what that does is it frees up the owner to stay in their zone of genius to kind of get more elevation out of the weeds of their business and can stay with that higher thought, visionary strategy perspective. Strategy from the idea generation part, but usually business owners are really good at ideas, but then you need an integrator or an OBM to help you with the strategy to make the ideas, come together. Mm-hmm. And integrating myself in people's teams, that is the very hardest part, because I have yet to have a client that's already had an OBM. So it's fun because I'm like creating a whole new job description. I'm onboarding myself and I'm creating systems because they're probably, six figures, high six figures. And then they get to this point where they're like, I can't keep operating like this. I need help. Mm-hmm. And so here I come to help. So, but it's like, I've got to learn their business. I've got to learn their team members. I've got to learn how the team members work. I really have to develop some systems along this journey so that as they continue to grow or as someone leaves, then this will already be in place. In the beginning, it's very chaotic, but it's kind of fun for me because it's like a puzzle. I've got all these jigsaw pieces and I've got to like rotate them and see how this fits and see how that fits, and then come back and, see how it is and try again if that works. Or you get to those sweet spots where it's like everything's riding pretty good. There's no launches going on right now. Nobody's leaving. No one's getting hired. And we can just kind of coast until, the next thing falls out the sky.
That's awesome. And so what are some of the first things that you do when you first start integrating yourself? I love how you have to onboard your own self. It's so funny. But what are some of the first steps? Like, say if I'm like, okay, Carrie, I need you to be an OBM in my business. What would be some of the first steps that you would be taking?
Okay, perfect. The first thing I need to know is, what is the goal of your business? And what do you feel like you need help with? I'm my business manager. I'm like very much the facilitator, not the doer. So what do you need help with? And can we systematize that? Or do we need to hire someone to do that? It's like 50-50. It could go either way. And then let's say you don't need to hire anybody, like your business lives completely in your brain. Then we have to go back and forth with maybe some screen share videos. And like, basically I need you to just word vomit everything that you could think of about your business. And then I take that and try to make sense of it and type it up into documents. And then I use ClickUp for a project management tool and then put everything in ClickUp. I like to have like a goals section. So we're always working towards goals. And then we usually have a top 2 or 3. Like, these are the main focuses for each month, because usually people that need OBMs, they have all these bright ideas and they want to drop that idea and go to this one. And it's like, no, I'm not letting you drop this one. We're going to see this one to the end. And when this one is done, we can pick this one up later.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of that, and then just manage. Usually once the system is made for the team members, whether it's a social media manager, copywriter, what have you, graphic designer, they know how to do that. So it's just like managing to make sure that they're getting their jobs done on time so that everything else can go.
So what are some ways that you could suggest that are essential for a business to start running in a way where if you're looking for growth and for scaling, you have to have these in place in your business?
I think that if you're a service provider, whatever service you're offering that is bringing in revenue needs to be the primary thing to systematize. So me, for example, I have retainer clients where I'm their OBM. So it's a retainer service. So that, or if you're a wedding photographer, the process that you go through to shoot someone's wedding, from the time that they find your website to the time you say, here are your images, see you next time, all those things need to be written out. And I don't think that you should carve out 2 hours and write them up. I think that's a very poor use of time, especially if you're truly a visionary. It's going to be like a soul sucking task. So what I recommend is open up a couple of tabs on your computer, or if you're old school, pull out a pen and paper. And as you're going through that thing, just document it. Like, you got a lead from your website. Okay, lead came in. What are you doing next? Okay, I'm going to type them a response. Write that down. And then they respond and say, I want to book a call. So you write that down. And then you're like, okay, here's the link to the call. So in real time, document it. So when you get to the end, the system's already made and you didn't have to take time away to create it.
I love that advice, because it truly can be soul sucking. You're just
it really is.
I cannot. I absolutely agree with that tip. I actually have my own team members create Loom videos while they're doing the task. It's no extra hours to do that. You're literally just doing it on top of the task that's already there. So that way we're creating SOPs for them also. And it's kind of part of their portfolio now, like of what their job description is. So
yeah. And then if they move on to bigger and greater things, you still have that.
And the videos are so essential. I just love that. So writing it down as you go, so you're not putting extra time in there, creating videos as you go also, for especially if you're team members, or even for you yourself, having the team members do it is just so, so important. I know you just gave some amazing tips right now, but just in general, just to kind of ease the stress and to simplify the business life, what are some things that you would suggest are good practices?
I think it's a really good practice to step away from the business. Usually when I'm kind of onboarding myself those first couple of weeks, I'm talking a lot about like, why are you spending 50 hours a week in your business? Like, where can we get your time back? Not to do anything business related. Like, can you not go in your office on a Sunday? Or can you take Fridays off? Or every time you want to go back in the office, you like, you know, walk the dog around the park. Like, what are you doing to get away from the business? Because usually when people step away from the business, it replenishes them. You have better ideas and you can show up as your best self for yourself, your support staff, and for your clients. That's huge to me. It's just like taking a time to step back. Another thing, I have a mentor that always says you have to slow down to speed up. Understand that even if you have all your SOPs written out, and I'm sure, Girija, you can attest to this, you write it all out, and when you give it to somebody, they're going to see something that you missed. Like, it's just going to happen. So go ahead and go in with the grace that it's not as well oiled as you thought it would, and there might be a little bit of a dialogue to kind of clear it up, and then to have some grace that you can't keep pushing at the same rate that you're pushing at and bringing a new team member on. It just can't happen because your team member is new. You know, they've got to get acclimated as well. So having some grace with the team member, having some grace with yourself, and prioritizing time away from the business, I think is just good practices to do on a weekly basis.
So I like to talk a little bit about the law, you know. And so has there been a time when you're like, oh man, I'm so thankful for that, or I wish I'd done that with regards to the law?
Yes. So I have some contract templates that I've invested in over the years from different ones, different needs and whatnot. And so the last time I invested in some contract templates, I really wanted to make sure I understood them. So I took the time when I didn't have those clients that I was wishing I had. I took the time to really read my contracts, understand them, make sure there was certain parts, you guys know when you buy templates, you can alter it. So make sure that I was altering it the way I really wanted it, not just because that's what was recommended. And so it all kind of came to a head when I was working with a client, and her request for the contract was different than what I had, but I was very confident in what was in my contract and I could explain it. And I felt really good about the fact that I could explain it without having to pick up the phone and hiring a lawyer because I did the due diligence. So I would definitely say if there's any of your like policies and procedures that you might feel uncomfortable saying, like in the makeup world, if you show up 15 minutes late and it's somebody's wedding day, if I have time to do your makeup, there's definitely an upcharge, right? So those kind of things, I may not want to say that on someone's wedding day, like, hey, you owe me an extra $100, but I have those difficult things in my contract. And so when we sign the contract, those are things I make sure we talk. Like when everything's light and fluffy and we're happy to start this relationship, it's like, by the way, if things go to the left, this is how it goes down. So I like to understand my contract, number one, and then it causes me to have those difficult conversations up front so that hopefully we can avoid needing them later.
I love what you just said. It is absolutely on point because it is so important to be able to effectively communicate your contract. And if you don't know what your contract is saying or what it means, you don't come across as a serious business owner or somebody who the other side can have confidence in the business relationship they're about to dive into. So I think that is so important. And, just having those difficult conversations during onboarding time is the best time because you're right. It is the fluff time and it's the happy time. No one is going to think anything bad is happening. So that is absolutely on point. So my last question, fun question, is what is your favorite show that you are binge watching right now?
Oh my goodness. Which housewives am I going to choose?
Oh gosh, yes. We had that conversation.
So I like certain housewives franchises, and then I watch the Karma Show, and then
Oh my God, I was just about to say the Family Karma. Yeah, I'm like, where did this come from? I literally was like, this is amazing. I don't know why, but I was like, this is amazing. I love it. And
my goodness.
Out of all the Bravo shows, it's the least dramatic in the sense of all the things that are happening and all that stuff. But I really like that. And then my Real Housewives of New Jersey, total guilty pleasure.
And then I can't forget 90 Day Fiancé either, because that's a train wreck that you just always come out of it feeling better about yourself. You're just like, oh God, what are these crazy people doing today?
I love that. Thank you so much for being with us today and sharing all of your wisdom and just some great advice. I love it. So I really enjoyed having you. Everything will be in the show notes, all your links, all your contacts information.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.